A few weeks ago, a little while back, Reverend Catherine invited me to do the talk for today. And a topic came to mind. And I thought, well, I can explore that. I can develop that into a talk. And this subject, I said, it was interesting to me. It really proves to me that there really is only one mind, because the topic that I was thinking about was exploring the subject of monkeys. And for the last 2 weeks, the midweek service, there's been a mention of monkeys. Last week, Reverend Valerie spoke about the 100th monkey effect. And that's where a new behavior spreads beyond a particular area where it was first initiated. And it's like a critical mass number of individuals begin to engage in this behavior. And so it kind of acts like a tipping point, where then you start observing the behavior in areas beyond that. And the example was such that this monkey was washing its sweet potato in the water to get the gritty sand off. And the other monkeys on that island observed this behavior and said, hey, let's try that out. That's a good idea. And they started engaging in this behavior. But before long, the scientists started observing monkeys on other islands who never witnessed the first monkey in that act of washing the sweet potato. They started seeing these other monkeys on the other islands engaging in that same behavior. And they call that the 100th monkey effect. And then a couple weeks ago, my husband Mark also spoke about monkeys in his talk about being mindful. Now, I think he gave a somewhat disparaging description of the monkey mind when he said, it's like our mind being full of drunken monkeys, constantly screeching, fighting, chattering, and creating mental chaos. Poor monkey. What a way to talk about the monkey. Well, today I intend to speak more favorably of monkeys as we take a good look at the wisdom of 3 particular monkeys. Now, you know the monkeys that I'm talking about. Those 3 monkeys where one has his hands covering his eyes, and one has his hands covering his ears, and the 3rd monkey has his hands covering his mouth. These 3 monkeys are a depiction of an ancient Chinese proverb that's attributed to Confucius: see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. We'll revisit that in a little bit to find out that that's really a rather oversimplified version of what Confucius really said. Confucius was a 6th century BC Chinese philosopher and teacher. Now, he was living in a period of moral decline and a deterioration of societal values. Well, it turns out that his teaching was really rather influential in the restoration and the return of the values of compassion, respect, integrity, and self-discipline. Confucius's golden rule was, what you do not wish done for you, do not do to others. More than once in recent years, since I became a licensed practitioner, I've heard some people share their belief of what they think the science and mind philosophy is teaching. And their interpretation is that science and mind teaches that we are not to look at the negative, and we are not to complain or speak about the problem lest we empower it. And then through the law of attraction, we draw to ourselves even more of what it is that we do not want. Their understanding is that they must remain positive at all times in their thoughts, and they must mouth only words of affirmation. They take statements such as, energy flows where our focus goes, as a cautionary statement, that it's warning them that so much so that they go to great lengths to avoid looking at, listening to, or discussing a problem. These individuals take see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil very literally. Picture, if you will, an ostrich. A big, sometimes up to 9 feet tall, amazing. So this big flightless bird with this large, round, feathered body perched upon these 2 skinny legs, and the ostrich head sits atop this bare, elongated neck, again, the neck up to 3 feet tall, long sometimes. Now, picture this big, hard-to-miss bird burying its little head in the ground, ignoring or pretending that imminent danger exists. How well do you suppose this tactic will work if a predator, let's say a lion, is approaching? If I don't look at it, it can't hurt me. The ostrich effect is a term that was coined about 15 years ago in the field of economics. Now, the ostrich effect describes a person's reluctance or outright denial to pay attention to information that they do not like. It's our brain's tendency to try to ignore negative information at times of risk or danger, and instead trusting that everything will go well and I don't have to do anything. Perhaps in recent years you've heard the term spiritual bypass. It's pretty much the same as the ostrich burying its head in the ground rather than dealing with a threat. Spiritual bypass is refusing to look at a negative condition or situation and instead pretending things are just fine, when in fact they clearly are not. Spiritual bypass is la 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 la, I don't want to hear it, I won't listen to it, and if I don't see it and if I don't hear it, it doesn't exist, right? Really? Ignoring or denying a problem does not make it disappear. One possible consequence of engaging in such behavior is that we might make a bad decision as a result of refusing to look at the red flags. If we fail to take into account all the information that's available to us, the good as well as the not so good information, if we won't take it all into account, we cannot make a fully informed choice about what action to take instead of just leaving it to chance. What is a red flag? Isn't it just a message informing us to proceed with caution, to be aware, to stay alert? We certainly don't ignore road caution signs when we're driving a car, especially if we're driving in some unfamiliar area, or say we're driving on a steep mountain road. A lot of us have been up to Arrowhead, and once there was snow and once there was a heavy fog, so we're very much aware if there's a signage that's informing us of something. So we don't refuse to look at, and we don't la 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 la, a caution sign that's informing us that there's going to be a steep downhill grade approaching. If we're on that narrow, windy mountain road, we certainly don't ignore a sign that's telling us that there's a sharp curve or there's a sharp bend in the road coming up ahead. If we're in an unfamiliar area, say we're approaching some big steel bridge and it's starting to mist or there's a heavy fog or there's a light rain, we certainly do not ignore a sign that says slippery when wet. We don't ignore a road caution sign that says, do not enter, wrong way. No, we take that message in, we apply it to the current situation that we're in, and we modify or we adjust our actions as we proceed with caution. We've probably all heard the saying, don't shoot the messenger. Now, an example of when this once actually happened is taught in many military schools. Way back in the 1st century BC, Tigranes the Great was king of Armenia. And at that point in time, Armenia was actually the second most powerful empire just east of the great Roman Empire. Well, as a Roman general with his mighty army of soldiers was marching upon Armenia, a message was sent to warn Tigranes. The great king became so angry, and he disliked that message so much that he ordered the head of the messenger be cut off. Oh, that's a fine howdy-do. So after that, guess what? No one else dared bring bad news to the king, resulting in several military defeats because he did not heed the message and he was ill-informed. So guess what happened not too long after that? Armenia fell to Roman rule. Now, we don't want to kill the messenger. Just because we don't like the message, we can do ourselves a great disservice when we try to kill the method of the delivery, whether literally or figuratively, by refusing to look at it, or I won't acknowledge it, or I won't listen to the warning. Ernest Holmes said, "We should be able to look a discordant fact in the face and deny its reality. We should be able to deny that it has any power over me." He didn't say, bury your head, pretend it doesn't exist, don't look at it. Look at it, face it, and say, you are not the truth. There is nothing to support you. You have no power over me. He also said that in his own mind, what a practitioner does is the practitioner meets the false belief head on and repudiates, rejects, and neutralizes it. Just get out of my way. You don't belong here. How do we come to terms with statements like, we turn our attention away from the problem, from the condition, take your mind off the problem? How do we align that with Holmes instructing us to look a discordant fact in the face and deny its reality? Well, Ernest Holmes also said, I do not know that we necessarily have to refute or argue against that which is negative as much as we have to contemplate the opposite. Oh, is that not similar to take your mind off the problem and put your mind on God, or as Holmes says, contemplate the opposite? Science of Mind teaches us that we turn our attention away from the condition or the problem and do what? There's a second step. We turn away from the darkness, and are we not, in essence, turning our gaze toward the light? Let's go back and take a look at what Confucius actually said. Instead of the overly simplified words, see no evil, Confucius actually said, look not at what is contrary to propriety. Instead of hear no evil, Confucius's actual words were, listen not to what is contrary to propriety. And instead of speak no evil, Confucius said, speak not what is contrary to propriety. Now, if we understand that our subconscious mind does not hear negatives, such as, if I tell you right now, whatever you do, do not think of a pink elephant. What are you thinking about? If I'm on a diet and I'm having cravings now and I see this luscious piece of chocolate cake and I say, I do not want that chocolate cake. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about, I won't let myself have the chocolate cake. I'm thinking about that I'm depriving myself of the chocolate cake. Since the subconscious doesn't hear negatives, it might be helpful for us to flip Confucius's statements from the negative phrasing to the affirmative. For instance, earlier I said that Confucius' rule was, what you do not wish for yourself, do not do to others. Well, if we change that to the affirmative, we have do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We can then take it a step further, and Confucius's instruction of look not at what is contrary to propriety becomes look at what is propriety. Look at what is respectable, what is decent. Look at what is dignified, honest. Look at what is good. Listen not to what is contrary to propriety becomes listen to what is propriety. And speak not what is contrary to propriety can be better understood and register on our subconscious mind if we say speak what is propriety. This way, the advice is telling us what positive action to take rather than what not to do. Some 500 years after Confucius, in his letter to the Philippians, St. Paul expressed some similar advice, and it was phrased in the affirmative when he said, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. And here we have another example of Holmes' advice that we don't necessarily have to refute, resist, or argue against what is negative, as much as we need to contemplate its opposite, what is good. So, might there be just a little benefit in us taking a look at what we don't like, taking a glance at the problem, taking a peek at the negative condition? I didn't say dwell upon it. I didn't say, get down in there and wallow with it, but look at it. Because if we look at it, then we can be better informed as a result of becoming aware of it. If we refuse to even take a look at it, aren't we in essence shooting the messenger? Cutting the head off of a warning? Risking taking action without us being fully informed. Just as we heed the message of a road caution sign when we're driving, we don't ignore or deny the warning. We don't pull over to the side of the road and turn off the car and curl up in the fetal position because we are so paralyzed with fear. No, we use that warning message. We apply it to the current situation that we're in. The warning might cause us to choose to course correct, to change direction, or to make a necessary adjustment to our speed as we proceed. Science of Mind teaching tells us that evil is not a thing of itself. Evil is not a thing in and of itself. Evil is an effect, and all effects are the outpicturing of a mental cause. In Science of Mind, we hear that we don't fight the effect. We change the cause. The changed cause then creates a different outpicturing. So where are we putting our energy? Fighting the effects, or do we go back to what caused it in the first place? It matters little whether that mental cause is a conscious or an unconscious belief. It matters little whether that belief is derived of a sense, from a sense of ignorance, or if it's derived because of faulty interpretation on our part, faulty interpretation of the world of our five senses. When we do that, we're judging according to appearance rather than recognizing the cause of that outpicturing. It's said that Jesus had the conviction of seeing through the condition, that Jesus could see through the appearance to that spiritual wholeness that was present at the very center of every person's being. Years ago, I remember Dr. Frank giving a lesson and tapping this very podium. And I don't know how well you can see it, but can you see the grains of wood? Actually, I was able to see it over there. He said that he could cover this entire podium with a thick layer of white paint. He could let it dry and then cover it with a thick layer of green paint. And yet again, he could cover the podium with a layer of a different color paint you choose. Even though we would no longer be able to see the grains of wood with our physical eyes, the truth is that those perfect grains of wood are still very much present within, even though the external appearance says something to the contrary. That's what we mean when we say healing is a revealing. A healing reveals the spiritual truth that's already present. As practitioners, our job is to remove the blocks and the obstructions, to scrape the paint off it if necessary, to remove whatever is hiding and masking the spiritual reality of that perfection that's already present within. We don't try to insert health into an unhealthy looking situation or condition. Health is already present, even if our physical eyes are saying something to the contrary. We don't fight or resist the external appearance. We see through those thick layers of paint to the truth within. So where should we look to find the wisdom of these three monkeys? Well, it will require us to move beyond the surface of those literal words phrased in the negative, telling us what not to do, and for us to look to a deeper message within. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle said, "Nature abhors a vacuum." What we as religious scientists understand and can draw from that is that when we remove or eliminate some negative thought or some disempowering focus of our attention, we then consciously, purposely fill that empty space, that vacuum, with a positive, constructive, life-affirming thought for us to focus on. We sometimes say erase and replace. If we don't want to think about a pink elephant, and we don't want to think of this scrumptious, calorie-ridden piece of chocolate cake, telling ourselves, do not think about it, doesn't work. It actually causes us to think about it even more. We need to choose, and choose wisely, what other thing that it is that we do want to think about. What do I want to think about instead? I take responsibility, and I choose wisely where I want my focus to go. It doesn't just happen by accident. Instead of fighting, resisting, or arguing against a condition, we focus more on what we do want to see. We pay attention and we listen to more of what we do want to hear, rather than listening to the negative news 12 hours a day. We choose to be mindful of the words that we do speak. We choose words of gratitude, appreciation, and praise instead of complaining and fault-finding the majority of the time. If we want to live a life at choice, we take responsibility, and we take action to move in the direction of what it is we want. And that, my friends, is the wisdom of the three monkeys. So now is the time of our offering. And, it is there, good. If you will say with me, divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, and to prosper all those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good, and I release my gift with love. And so it is. Thank you. Okay, at this time, if anyone has any questions or any comment, any way that we can clarify what was said today?
We do have a prayer request from YouTube. Phil Chavez is asking for prayer for Lorraine Chavez. She be healed of memory loss, hearing loss, all health problems, and be restored with flawless health in Jesus' name. Lorraine Chavez's possessions and finances be restored anew.
You said be healed of hearing loss, and you said something before that.
Of memory loss, hearing loss, and all health problems be restored with flawless health. Be her possessions and finances be restored.
Okay. All right. There's nothing else before that. And you said it was Bill who made the request?
Phil Chavez is making the request for Lorraine.
Okay. All right. If you will just join me, and again, drawing on the words that I just said, is that we're not inserting anything, that it's already there. And the revealing is just removing every appearance that seems to be telling us otherwise, that we know the truth here and now about Lorraine. So knowing that there is only the one divine presence, that there is that one perfection of life, that one creator, the source of all life. Knowing that I am speaking this word for Phil and for Lorraine, that there is a sense of peace and calm that is present within them, each one of them right here and right now. Knowing that this is my divine right to be connected, to be consciously connected with the source of my Creator, with love, with vitality, with health, with wisdom, with harmony and joy, and that there is always perfect divine order in place in my life. So right here and right now, anchoring myself in the truth, I return to knowing that I am never separate from the divine. I am never separated from all of that goodness and all of those divine attributes, that I am always tethered to and held to God. So right here and right now, I just relax and I lean into that divine embrace that holds me, that supports me, that keeps me safe, that soothes me and comforts me in this moment. I know that good and good alone is mine, and that with everything that is going on around me, that there is a greater good as a result of this, that I am drawn to all of the right people, all of the right support staff, that I am drawn to any and every measure that it would take for me to be my best, my strongest, my most vital self. I know that this is what I align with, and therefore that's all that I see, that is all that is drawn to me. So knowing that I am one, I know and I declare right here and right now that all is well. All is as it should be in the mind of God. And I am the outpicturing of this perfect idea. So I am thankful. My heart is overflowing with gratitude, knowing that this word is heard, knowing that everything that needs to be is already taking place. It is already set in motion. So I relax, I unclench, I let go, because I of my little self do not make this happen. I know that there is a power and there is a presence greater than me that knows what to do and is doing it now. So filled with gratitude, I let go, I let God, and I declare, and so it is. Okay. Everything's clear? Well, I really appreciate you coming out. I appreciate the support. So, all right, you guys, have a great day.